The phone rang 3 times before she picked up. It was 11:30 p.m. and I was sitting in my truck outside the fire station after a brutal 18-hour shift. The rumors had been eating at me for days. Whispered conversations that stopped when I walked into the room. Pitying looks from people who'd known us since high school. Elena's voice was breathless, surprised. I could hear music in the background, low and intimate. Not the kind of music you'd hear at a work conference. "Elena, where are you?" A pause long enough to confirm every fear I'd been trying to ignore. "I'm at the medical conference. Remember I told you about it, but I called the hotel." There was no medical conference this weekend. My hands were shaking as I forced out the words that would either save my marriage or destroy it. "Is it true what they're saying about you?" Another silence. This one felt like standing on the edge of a cliff waiting to fall. Yes, that single word shattered 12 years of marriage. Dreams of the family we'd never have and every naive belief I'd held about love and loyalty. If stories like this hit you where it hurts, smash that subscribe button. This is just the beginning of a journey that will change everything you think you know about betrayal and recovery. Let me tell you who I was before that phone call destroyed my world. I'm Marcus, 32 years old, a firefighter who'd spent 10 years running into burning buildings to save other people's lives while my own life crumbled around me. Elena and I were supposed to be forever high school sweethearts, married at 22. The couple everyone in our small town pointed to as proof that true love still existed. Elena worked as a pediatric nurse, saving children's lives while I saved everyone else. We were heroes. Or at least that's what people told us. What they didn't see were the cracks that had been forming for months. Hairline fractures in the foundation of everything I'd built my identity around. It started with whispers at Murphy's bar after my shift. Guys I'd known since childhood suddenly couldn't make eye contact. Tommy Rodriguez, my best friend since 3rd grade, kept changing the subject whenever I mentioned Elena's name. My captain, Chief Williams, started giving me these looks like he wanted to say something, but couldn't find the words. The first real hint came from my sister, Maria, during Sunday dinner at Mom's house. She pulled me aside while Elena was helping with dishes. Her face twisted with the kind of pain that comes from knowing something that's going to destroy someone you love. "Marcus, I need to tell you something, and you're going to hate me for it." My stomach dropped. "What is it?" "I saw Elena last Tuesday night at Romano's, that expensive place downtown." I shrugged. She had that work dinner with the department heads. Maria's eyes filled with tears. "She wasn't with work people, Marcus. She was with a man and they weren't talking about work." The world tilted sideways. "What do you mean?" "They were holding hands across the table. He was stroking her face. They looked like lovers." "Marcus, I'm so sorry." I wanted to call her a liar, to storm out, to pretend I hadn't heard what she'd said. Instead, I found myself asking, what did he look like? Tall, expensive suit, dark hair, handsome. She paused, then delivered the killing blow. She was wearing that red dress, the one you bought her for your anniversary. That night, I confronted Elena. Not directly. I wasn't ready for that war yet. Instead, I asked about her evening, about the work dinner, about how it went. She lied smoothly. Easily, like she'd been practicing. She told me about boring presentations and terrible wine, about how she wished she'd stayed home with me instead, all while wearing the afterglow of being with someone who wasn't her husband. That's when I started paying attention to things I'd been too trusting to notice. The new clothes that appeared in her closet, expensive pieces that cost more than a firefighter's wife should be able to afford. The way she'd started working out obsessively, suddenly caring about her body in ways that should have benefited our marriage. But somehow felt like preparation for someone else. Her phone became her lifeline to a world I wasn't part of. Always texting, always smiling at messages I wasn't allowed to see. When it would ring during dinner, she'd jump up like she'd been waiting for it. Taking calls in the other room and speaking in whispers that sounded like secrets. The breaking point came when I found a credit card statement she tried to hide, charges at hotels in the next town over, restaurants I'd never been to. A jewelry store where she'd apparently bought herself a necklace I'd never seen her wear. When I asked about it, she got angry. Not defensive. Angry like I was violating her privacy by asking about money we supposedly shared. I work hard, Marcus. I deserve to treat myself sometimes. But it wasn't the money that hurt. It was the realization that my wife had been living a completely separate life. One that didn't include the man she'd promised to love and honor until death did us part. The rumors started after that. Small town, big mouths. People had seen her around town with someone who wasn't me. At first, they were careful, gentle, like they were trying to break it to me slowly. Then they became bolder, more direct. Mrs. Patterson from the grocery store. Marcus, honey, I saw Elena at the Marriott last week. She looked so happy. Jake from the hardware store. Your wife's got good taste in cars. That Tesla she was getting into was sweet. I don't drive a Tesla. I drive a 10-year-old pickup truck with more miles than a long-haul trucker. The man she was seeing was Dr. Alex Reyes, the new emergency room doctor who transferred to our hospital 6 months ago. Divorced, wealthy, everything I wasn't. I'd actually met him at a hospital charity event. Had shaken his hand while he was planning to destroy my marriage. For weeks, I tried to convince myself that everyone was wrong, that there was some explanation that would make sense of everything. Maybe she was helping a friend. Maybe the rumors were about someone else. Maybe I was going crazy and seeing betrayal where there was only innocent friendship. But deep down I knew. You know when the person you love most in the world is slipping away, even when you're not ready to admit it. The night I made that phone call, I'd been thinking about it for hours. Elena had left that morning for what she claimed was a weekend medical conference 3 hours away. She kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, promised to call when she got there safely. She never called. I waited until after my shift, sitting in my truck in the station parking lot, staring at my phone like it was a loaded gun. Chief Williams had pulled me aside earlier. His weathered face full of the kind of sympathy that comes before bad news. Marcus, son, you know, I think the world of you. You're one of the best firefighters I've ever worked with. But I've got to ask, everything okay at home? You seem distracted lately. I'd lied to his face. Everything's fine, Chief. Just tired. He nodded, but I could see in his eyes that he knew. Everyone knew, except the husband, who was too stupid or too scared to face the truth. That's when I finally found the courage to dial her number and ask the question that would change everything. Is it true what they're saying about you? When she said yes, it wasn't just confirmation of an affair. It was the sound of everything I believed about love, marriage, and loyalty crashing down around me like a burning building with no way out. How long I managed to whisper. For months of lies. For months of coming home to a woman who was thinking about someone else while she kissed me goodnight. For months of being a fool while the whole town watched my marriage fall apart. Do you love him? I asked. I think so. Do you love me? The longest pause of my life. Then she said, I don't know anymore, Marcus. I don't know if I ever really did or if I just loved the idea of us. She came home the next morning and we sat at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals and made plans for a future that would never exist, and she told me everything. She'd met Alex during a code blue emergency. He was brilliant, sophisticated, worldly. He made her feel important, desired, like she was more than just a small-town nurse married to a firefighter. The relationship had started as late-night conversations during slow shifts, progressed to coffee dates disguised as work meetings, and evolved into something she'd never intended, but couldn't stop. "I tried to end it," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I tried to stay away from him. Like when I'm with him, I feel like myself again. Like the person I was before I became just your wife. The person you became as my wife is who I fell in love with." She looked at me with a mixture of sadness and something that might have been pity. "That's the problem, Marcus. You fell in love with who I was, not who I am now. Alex sees who I could become. And what does that make me? It makes you my first love, my safe choice. The life I thought I wanted when I was 22 and didn't know there was more to want." The divorce was brutal and public. In a small town, everyone takes sides, and I learned quickly who my real friends were. Some people blamed her, called her a cheater who threw away a good man for momentary excitement. Others whispered that I should have seen it coming, should have been more attentive, should have given her the life she obviously wanted. The truth was probably somewhere in the middle, but it didn't matter. Truth doesn't heal the kind of wound that comes from discovering the person you trusted most had been auditioning for a different life while you were planning your forever. Elena married Alex 8 months after our divorce was finalized. I heard it was a beautiful wedding, elegant, expensive, everything our simple ceremony hadn't been. They moved to the city, bought a house that cost more than I'll make in 5 years, started living the sophisticated life she'd apparently always wanted. For a year, I was angry, then I was broken, then I was something worse, numb. I threw myself into work, volunteering for every dangerous call, every overtime shift. Anything that would keep me from going home to a house that felt like a tomb of memories I couldn't escape. My family worried. My friends tried to set me up with other women. My therapist, yes, I got a therapist because apparently discovering your wife has been living a double life for months qualifies as trauma. Kept asking me what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I didn't know. For 10 years, everything I'd wanted had been tied up in Elena. Every dream, every goal, every plan for the future had included her. How do you rebuild an identity when half of it has been ripped away? The turning point came during a house fire on Maple Street. A family of 4 trapped on the 2nd floor. Flames blocking both stairwells. It should have been routine. I'd done similar rescues hundreds of times. But something was different that night. I hesitated for maybe 3 seconds. I stood outside that burning house and thought about how easy it would be to just not go in. That terrified me more than any fire ever had. After we'd saved the family and I was sitting in the ambulance getting checked for smoke inhalation, Chief Williams sat down beside me. "That was too close, Marcus." "I know, Chief. You want to tell me what's really going on?" Because the Marcus I know doesn't hesitate when lives are on the line. I told him everything about Elena, about Alex, about feeling like I'd lost not just my wife, but my entire sense of purpose. About wondering if maybe she'd been right. Maybe I was just a small-town guy with small-town dreams who'd held her back from something bigger. Chief Williams listened to it all, then asked me a question that changed everything. "Do you think you saved fewer lives because you were married to Elena? Did being her husband make you worse at your job? Did loving her make you less of a man?" I thought about it. No. If anything, I worked harder because I had someone to come home to. Then maybe the problem wasn't that you weren't enough for her. Maybe the problem was that she wasn't enough for herself. That night, I looked at my life honestly for the first time since Elena left. I wasn't the same man who'd married her 8 years earlier. I was stronger, more confident, better at my job. The years with her hadn't diminished me. They'd helped me grow into someone I was proud to be. Elena hadn't left because I wasn't enough. She'd left because she didn't know who she was outside of being someone's wife. And instead of doing the work to figure it out, she decided it was easier to become someone else's wife. Instead, I'd learned the difference between loving someone and losing yourself in someone else's definition of who you should be. I met Sarah, a teacher at the elementary school 3 years later. She was divorced, too. Understood the complexity of rebuilding after betrayal. She didn't need me to make her feel important or valuable. She already knew she was both. She wanted me because of who I was, not who she thought I could become. Last month, Elena called me, not texted, called like the old days. "Marcus, it's me." I almost didn't recognize her voice. The confidence was gone, replaced by something that sounded like desperation. "Elena, what can I do for you? Alex and I are getting divorced." I waited. I didn't know her comfort or questions or easy forgiveness. "I made a mistake, Marcus. A huge mistake. I thought I wanted something different, something bigger, but I just ended up feeling smaller. Alex, he's not who I thought he was. Or maybe I'm not who I thought I was. I'm sorry to hear that. I miss us. I miss what we had. I miss who I was when I was with you." The old Marcus would have felt vindicated. Would have seen this as proof that I'd been the right choice all along. The new Marcus understood that Elena was making the same mistake she'd made before. Looking for someone else to define her worth. I hope you figure out who you are, Elena. But you need to do that on your own. Are you seeing someone? The silence on the other end was longer than the one that had followed my question 3 years earlier. She's lucky. We're both lucky. We choose each other every day. After I hung up, I sat in my truck for a long time thinking about that phone call that had destroyed my world. Elena was right about one thing. She had made a mistake, but it wasn't marrying Alex or leaving me. Her mistake was thinking that someone else could give her the life she wanted instead of building it herself. The betrayal that nearly destroyed me ended up saving me. It taught me that love isn't about finding someone to complete you. It's about being complete enough on your own that someone else's love feels like a gift, not a necessity. So, if you're listening to this and you're waiting to make that phone call, if you're gathering the courage to ask the question you're afraid to hear the answer to, if you're in that dark place where you know the truth, but you're not ready to face it, I want you to remember something. The right person will never make you feel like you need to compete for their attention. They won't make you feel like you're holding them back from their real life. They won't force you to become a detective in your own marriage. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And when someone shows you that they don't choose you every single day, let them go. Not because you don't love them, but because you love yourself enough to demand better. That phone call that shattered my world also set me free. It showed me the difference between being someone's safe choice and being someone's best choice. It taught me that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the first day of your real life. That's all for today's story. If it moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about love, loss, and finding yourself again. Sometimes the most devastating question you ever ask becomes the answer that saves you. Until next time, remember, you deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation. Don't settle for someone who has to think about it. The right person won't make you wonder if you're enough.